Welcome back, you guys. Oh my God. Yes, my name is Swadik Mayanja. You guys can call me Q, and yes, I am Q the nurse. And it's been too long, way too long. But remember, folks, whenever I come back from my long extended breaks, I bring someone good. I bring someone that reminds me why I do what I do. And this week, from my vacay, we have Jamie from Do No Harm podcast back again with us to talk about the dates. Jamie, welcome back.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on here. It's always a pleasure.
Yes. Jamie. First and foremost, it's been a really long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I just want a really mini recap, because the last time we talked was in the midst of the heat of the Black Lives Movement, just marches and craziness that was going on. And it just feels like it's just been nonstop for so long. So please just give me a mini recap. We are going to get into the details of all the politics and all of that stuff, but I want to know what was been going on in your life. How have you been surviving since the last time we chat? Please remind me and the folks.
Oh man. So what's happened since the last time we talked? So yeah, definitely. You were on one of my podcasts, my mini series Through the Lens of Black Lives Matter, which I have personally taken an oath to myself and to the people of color in their community. I'm not going to let up. Like, this is a thing that is not going to die down just because we have a new president in office. It's super important. So that's something that I've still been, thumbing through, educating myself on, so that we can be a better state, we can be a better country. But also, one of the things as a nurse, I'm a rapid response nurse. I have found the most beautiful thing. Every other month, I take PTO for a week. So I roughly have about 12 days off. And it has been the best thing to do to recharge, get away from COVID, have a staycation at home. And really, I to be honest, that's been about it, because I'm very strict with the COVID guidelines, and I don't go out. I don't do things. I'm just trying to, stay safe and stay healthy right now and keep my community healthy and safe as well.
See, I love that. You see, ladies and gentlemen, the reason, you know why I bring Jamie on? Because first of all, every time we chat, she lets me go, right? She gives me a runway and I chat like I never chatted before. But more importantly, she brings joy to my heart. Jamie, thank you. Thank you. Goodness gracious, thank you. I love that what you said about through the lives of Black lives, through the lens of Black lives. First of all, happy Martin Luther King Day, and thank you so much. I love that. I love that, girl. Mm-hmm. I love that. So just to give you guys a rundown as to why I decided to call it quits. Because first of all, during this Trump era, and thank God it's over. Thank God.
Thank you. I agree. Oh my gosh.
Right. But through this Trump era, it was, if anyone knows me, they know that I have two passions in life. One of them is nursing and the other one is politics. And the issue with the Trump era is it was politics everywhere, 24/7, 365. And oh my God, was it too much, right? Even for me, who absolutely loves this stuff. So I decided a while ago, let me shut up and let the professionals do the talking when it comes to Trump, because it was nonstop and no one needed my voice to be in there. So I only came on and made videos when I needed to, or when I felt a real hard urge to, or when someone like Jamie invited me on, right? And thank you very much for that. But with that being said, Joey, my homeboy Joe Biden is in office now, and I feel like I could come on back. And that's why I'm like, you know what? Let me kick the shoes off. Let me get comfy, and let's jump into this. So just right away, Jamie, please tell me, how does it feel today? A few days, 2 days past the inauguration. How does it feel to just be over the Trump mania? I mean, it's not over, but it's over, right? It's over. How does that feel? What did you do during the inauguration? Just how are you feeling, please?
So a quick background. When you ask me that question, you have to understand that I was never involved in politics, really. I was registered as a Republican voter because I didn't know any better. I'm from the South, if you can't tell by the twang.
Love it.
It was just what was indoctrinated in me growing up. And so what happened as I got older, I'd never voted until this past election, but I noticed all of this hate, discrimination, the marginalized community, whether it was people of color, whether it was part of the LGBTQ community, poor, whatever. Man, people were coming out of the woodwork to make them feel so inferior more than ever. And I had an issue with that. I've always had an issue with people being bullied. And so that's when I really started getting involved in politics. It was probably 2017, 18-ish. But where am I now?
Yes.
Man, hearing the talks of the unity in the inauguration speech. I was at home because I've been on vacation and I cried all day. I mean, Kamala Harris being the first woman of color, like she's such a beautiful person to be in a place of power, to give hope to so many communities. Even Biden actually being elected, look at his cabinet members. He has the first trans woman who she's making, like it's a pediatrician.
Look at this. Wait, right. Are you serious?
Yes. The person who's in charge of I think a Secretary of Interior, she's an Indigenous woman who gets to say what happens across our lands. It's the most culturally diverse and appropriate placements of people in power that I've ever known. And it gives me chills to even talk about it. I'm just so happy for our country that everyone can see someone that looks like them as something that they can be.
Let's sit because I really wanted to go back in time and started to talk about like all of the craziness, but let's sit in this happy place for a hot minute, okay? And wait, is she there or he there? Yeah,
sorry, that's why I hit mute. I took her squeaky toy away.
Is she also a tiny what's her name?
This is Ellie.
Ellie
surprised me with a toy from downstairs, which got taken away from her. So,
oh my goodness, she's adorable. Stop it. We need you got to feature your puppy every time. If they come in the room, they come on the show. That's what it has to be. But let's stay in this happy place, all right? Because that inauguration really, truly was. It was so good, right? And I just. A lot of good things, like you just said. And I do want to talk a little bit about Kamala Harris because, geez and Lord, it was like, so I have a niece and she's about to turn 1. I have 2 little sisters who I think the world of, right? And like, it's insane that it took this long to have a woman even be vice president, right? We had Hillary who was super close to being president and sadly she didn't. But now we have Kamala Harris who's the vice president. And she works that shit. I'm seeing all of these posts, the way she struts, the way she talks, like she's a leader born and raised, like she's meant to be in a position of power. I can only see the near future in 2024. I see Kamala doing big things, y'all. I see Kamala, like I'm just getting ahead of myself, but I think it's just so many good things, right? So many good things. It's given me hope. I feel so much relief. I'm happy, right? I'm not stressing. I don't stress when I turn on the news anymore. It's good. It's really, really good. Are you happy with what's happening, or are you just so joyful that Trump's left? Like, are you actually happy about what we have, or you just think this is a high from Trump leaving?
So I will be honest with you, because I always promise to the people who have me on their podcast, which I greatly appreciate it, but I will 100% be authentic all the time, right? So Biden was not my first choice. He wasn't my second choice. He wasn't my third choice. Again, I got into the game of politics really late for being as old as what I am.
You better stop.
But with that being said, I always research my views and what people stand for, period. I didn't vote a straight ticket in this election. There were some Republicans in my community that I felt they stood more for what I held value and weight in than what their Democratic opponents did. So how do I feel right now? I am so happy that this man who genuinely strives for unity is in office. I am so thankful that a man who served under Obama, a man of color, that he understands more so than what a lot of the white population understands, because he got to have these intimate conversations with Obama. And even if things weren't changed then during that administration, clearly the stuff that he's signing into effect yesterday and today, he means it.
Yes.
Like, he's putting his money where his mouth is. He cares about the marginalized community, and he's putting forth those things. Also, did you see Fauci in the COVID-19 thing? He was so giddy about having this administration. I have never seen Dr. Fauci so like giddy and smiling, and they both promised transparency, and Fauci was never succumbed to what the past administration wanted him to say. He was very articulate, and he tiptoed around things that would have a negative effect on him. But I mean, this was one of the things that he boasted with this administration. He promised our new president that everything would be transparent with the public, as well as the errors, as well as the downfalls of what they believe to be true. As a nurse, as a woman, and as a person who loves this country, I just can't be happier right now, honestly.
Yes. I can't agree with you more. And I love the way that you started your answer the way you did, because look, I'm pretty sure I'm just on a high. I'm on a high right now because Joe Biden wasn't my first, second, or third either. And if anyone knows me, everyone knows that I'm not afraid. And I am proud to say I'm a Bernie bro. Heavy, right? So I love myself some Bernie. We got to talk about his meme, because that shit isn't.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't it just the greatest thing? It's the greatest thing ever. But so, yes, I know I'm on a high. I know that I am there's a lot of things I am worried about, but I'm going to just stay happy. I'm going to just stay smiling just for a little bit. I could be happy for a little bit. Then we can strap on the boots come Monday, and we could go back to work, and we could be pressuring Biden from the left, trying to get him to do more things that I believe I want. But you're right. He did serve under Barack Obama. I love Barack Obama. Like 2 weeks ago, I was watching videos when shit was hitting the fan of just old Barack Obama speeches. And it reminded me, this is what a president should be. Like, Barack Obama was the pinnacle of what you want your president to look like, act like, speak like, right? He was just leadership, charisma, like the whole thing with Michelle Obama and the two kids. It was like a perfect situation, right? It was a perfect situation. And having Joe Biden in office, knowing that he's probably calling Obama on the daily, what should I do about this? That makes me feel good. That makes me really feel good. But Jamie, Bernie Sanders sitting down. I've been posting memes all day, girl. I don't know why everyone loves it, but it's the greatest thing ever. It's the greatest thing ever.
Did you see the one where it said, I know we're familiar with Elf on the Shelf, but have you seen? And it had like Bernie sitting on a gurney. I was like, this is the best ever. So I will say, my heart, I talked about this with a good friend of mine yesterday, actually. My heart is so broken for Bernie Sanders because, I mean, look at his age. He's not going to be president of our United States in his lifetime. What a phenomenal human being, though. I mean, he was pro Black Lives Matter when that wasn't cool. Mm-mm. Like, he got cuffed. He got the mug shots. Like, he literally, like I said earlier, put his money where his mouth was, not for the fame, not for the publicity, because he genuinely cared back then. He didn't have to evolve into his stances on the fact that every human being, that they deserve the same type of lifestyle, they deserve the same type of benefits and the same type of respect and dignity. And that was obsolete back then, right?
Yes.
And I mean, even now, people feel the impact of it, but it's almost cool to be an ally, which is fortunate, unfortunate at the same time, because you don't really know the authenticity of it. But like, what a phenomenal individual who just loves humankind. So I'm a little sad for him, but I think Joe Biden is pretty great. Oh, yeah. He ranks pretty high up there. The same stances.
Of course. And
now
just greatness, right? Greatness. Thank you, Jamie. Just goddamn it. Yes. Thank you. About Bernie, you're right, because it's one thing. What I'm going to say is, look, I can just stop this and I could play you a speech from Bernie, right? And it could be from 1994 and it would be the same exact thing he's saying today, which in politics is unheard of.
Exactly.
I mean, you had Donald Trump a week ago changing his statements from 2 p.m. in the afternoon to like 8 p.m. at night, right? So this is the man, he's been saying the same goddamn thing for forever. And I love everything he's saying, and he's fighting for it. But don't feel bad for him. He's the head of the Senate Budget Committee. He's going to be making money decisions, right. Jamie. He's going to be making money decisions.
But that wasn't his heart's desire. I just feel bad when good people don't get like what they truly deserve.
Exactly. I like the way
I agree. I agree.
Yes. But I really do hope, it makes me happy that he has some form of leadership. He's been there for so long, and I like his vision. I like where he wants to take this country. All right, you guys. All right, let's talk about some seriousness. Okay. Because yes, we're really happy. The inauguration was great. It just got a lot of weight, and we just had to let us live. All right. But let's go back. And I do really want to talk about the build up until the inaugurations, because shit looked like it was about to go down.
And it did.
Oh, my God. Yes, it did. Oh, my God. Right. So that's where I want to start. Let's go back to January 6th. Describe to me what you were going through. Were you at work that day? How did you find out about the news? Were you glued to the TV that entire night? What was going on for you on January 6th, and how did you soak it in?
What a great question to ask you, man. January 6th, again, not into politics as of late, but because just like anything else, like football, I would take off the days that I know are very important. Roll Tide. So January 6th, I was off work. And I remember I was watching Amy Klobuchar. Love her. She's a phenomenal woman. And I was watching her talk. And then the next man who came up. And I have been following, because I'm from the South, and not throwing any shade, but there is a prevalence for these people who love conspiracy theories, QAnon, etc. A lot of that is in the southern states. Don't be mad at me. Be mad at the people who fall for it. It's just not my thing.
It's just a situation. Yeah.
So I've been seeing stuff like this, right? Like I was very aware of what they were calling for, but with my head in the sand, I was like, what ifs? If I know it, everyone else knows it. So I'm watching Amy. I watched the speaker came up. I think he was from Arizona. I could be wrong. And all of a sudden I saw someone come up and so he's like, okay, we'll continue this later. And I thought, that's weird. They're making him shut up. That's super strange. And then all of a sudden I realized what was happening, and the news like panned to the Capitol. I saw them coming in, like walking between the roped barriers. No, I was at home watching every bit of it. And I was like, what do they think they're going to do now that they got inside? Where are they going? What are they going to do when they get to this person? It was mind blowing, and it shouldn't have been, because I knew the mentality of this population of people. But I didn't watch Donald Trump's speech prior to that, which when I watched it afterwards, it made a lot more sense, unfortunately.
Yeah, it made a lot more scary sense.
Yeah.
So luckily, sadly, whichever way you want to look at it, I was at work. So I did a lot of just catching up, right? All I knew is I was at work, and it was like, you know how when you work on like Super Bowl Sunday, everyone's watching the same thing. When you work on like the Oscars, everyone's watching the same thing. Usually people all have the news on, but it's different kind of news. It's different, like, and it's different channels. Some people are watching, some people aren't. Everyone was watching the same thing. And I was like, this is insane. Like, this is insane. What happened on January 6th is what you see in other countries when they're overthrowing the government. And that's why I just need to just say this really clearly. That was an attempted coup. I mean, this was some insane shit. If we saw this in any other country, we would be like, we can't trust those folks. Is that government working correctly? It was one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I was like, is this the turn where we go into civil war? Because I was so scared. I was so scared, Jamie, right? And then at the end of the day, you figure out that, yes, it might have been 100 or 200 people, but that's 200 crazies who believe in all of these conspiracy theories, right? So obviously. And then
that had the ability to be there, though. So they only represented the people that could have time off of work on a weekday who had the financial security to leave their home state to be there. So yes. I understand what you're saying about, okay, well, there's 200 people, but how many people did they actually represent, those 200?
And that's a scary thing because they was what's the number? 70, 75 million Americans that still voted for Trump. And obviously it's obviously not that many people who would have went there. And I was listening to The Daily the day after and from the Washington Post, and they went and interviewed people who went to the rally but did not run into the Capitol building. And it was some of them that were like, yeah, I was there to listen to Donald Trump. I heard what he said. I just thought that he meant we're going to fight back in 2024. And then other people were like, I heard what he said and I knew exactly what he meant and I went charging into the Capitol. Mm-hmm. So even in that crowd of people who went to go listen to Trump, I think it's obviously drastic. It's like it's the smallest minority of the crazies. But the problem is all you need is the start of something bad to happen. And then other people just sit back and watch or join because they're like, well, this is okay. So I'm going to join too. And we have to hats off to the police officer who got beat to death. Like, this is supposed to be the Blue Lives Matter side of the conversation. How are you beating the police officers? It was so many contradictory, crazy things happening all at the same time. I was so conflicted. I was so scared. I was so nervous. Jamie, I was worried for this country's health moving forward, right? So, I don't know. It was just a lot. It was really a lot. But the only follow-up question, go ahead. No, go ahead. You seem like you want to say something.
What did your social media feed look like the next day? Like, I know I'm not the host of this, but I'm just curious. While I'm talking about it, I want to know what did it look like the next day when people were saying that it was actually participants of Antifa, of like the Black Lives Matter movement individuals, that was really who did it, not supporters of Trump. How did that make you feel?
That was the most like painful thing ever because literally, and you had like this was like members of Congress, people in the Senate, they were literally tweeting that entire day while Trump was giving his speech. They were saying, yes, Trump is right. We got to stay strong. We got to fight back. We can't give it through. We can't let them steal this election, right? They were marching to the Capitol. It's like, we need to make sure our voices are heard. The second the doors open, is this Antifa? Are they Antifa? Is that Black Lives Matter? Are they? It's like, 10 seconds ago, you were saying that these are our people. We got to make our voices heard. And the second they do something illegal or something you think is too far, all of a sudden they're Antifa. Fuck out of here. What are you talking about? So, yeah, I know. I was upset.
And in reality, like, being a sore loser because your president wasn't elected is vastly different than systemic racism and like a certain group of people being killed by the people who are in charge of our welfare. There's not even a comparison. Why the hell would they storm the Capitol for this? And why would Antifa, which means anti-fascist, do anything to prolong Joe Biden, a man of the people, clearly, who's only going to make things easier for the groups that I previously talked about.
Yeah.
Why would we postpone that?
It's ridiculous.
Like, it doesn't even make logical sense.
Exactly. Like when they stop making logical sense of their own arguments that are already absolutely ridiculous. Because we stole their. Come on. When they stop making logical sense for their ridiculous conspiracies, that's what I wanted to ask you next. Because I don't believe this is a possible conclusion or reaction or situation that comes from any group of people all getting legit facts, legit truth. And I'm so afraid with the current state of the media. Jamie, how is it possible moving forward that we can get these people to actually believe? Because for me, a lot of it, I tried to keep my hand in the sand and try to believe that these people just really like Trump. They don't actually believe it was stolen. They don't actually believe that QAnon is a real thing. They don't. The truth is they do. They do. So how do you fight someone who believes a different reality than you, that different facts than you? What do you do, Jamie? How are you going through this?
I don't know. It's like one of the things that your goalpost, again, football fan, your goalpost is constantly moving, right? So these QAnon believers, and while I can see the reality of it, I know that with my mom being sick, she was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer last year. So you look for any positive thing to point to the way, the narrative that you desire, right? So these people, they get a little bit of fact, a little tiny mustard seed of fact mixed in with a whole bunch of conspiracy theory, and then they believe it because sometimes, I mean, you throw whatever at the wall and it sticks. Yeah. Occasionally it does. And so it makes them believe that everything is valid. How do we talk to those people? I don't think that we can. I know that a lot of people have been very sad because there was supposed to be a mass blackout during the inauguration, and it didn't happen. March 4th, Trump is supposed to be inaugurated again. I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
Hey, is this real life?
No, which is what we're talking about.
Right?
That is literally the topic that you asked me about. It's not real life.
That's wild.
But it is what's believed. So what can we talk about with it? I don't think that we can. I think that the reality of whatever's going to be is going to be. And as their life improves, hopefully it does for them. But I also think it is our responsibility, because these QAnons are very deep Trump supporters. I do feel like they need to recognize in the years to come that we also call out Joe Biden on his shit. We also call out Kamala Harris on her shit. We don't worship just because they're a Democrat. We're not like, oh, you're the best thing that's ever happened. No, I appreciate the stances that he's taking right now today, January 22nd. But it doesn't mean that if he starts treating people of color, if he starts treating the marginalized community as though they're disposable, then I'm gonna be like, this man is the best ever. No, I have a problem with it. And so I think for us to be representatives of the stances that we take, that when our representatives, when they fall back and they backslide, that we hold them accountable. I don't know. I just feel like that's a pretty good method.
Jamie, you make me feel so good inside. That is so good. That's like, it's perfect. I mean, it really is the only way, because we're not going to force anyone on the other side to change if they don't believe what we believe, if they're not if they don't take in the same truths we take in. And I'm going to just say if they're not taking in the objective truths, we can show them how we treat our leaders and ask them to treat their leaders the same. Right? If they're not doing what they said that they were going to do, we're going to hold them accountable. We're going to tell them, we're going to keep them feet to the fire. And you're right. It is impossible to have a conversation with someone who just doesn't believe what you believe. But then the only follow-up question, and I think this is super important, and a lot of people have been talking about this, because I honestly don't know if Donald Trump believed that I think he might be really that dense or that narcissistic where he honestly believes the election was stolen. But for all of the goons in his circle, all of the goons, I think they need to be legit consequences for them, because they for a fact know the truth. Right. And I'm talking about the Lindsey Grahams, the Giulianis, the Ted Cruz's, the Howley. Those, they knew for all of Fox, a lot of Fox News. They all knew for a fact, and they were pushing that narrative up until the very second they stormed the Capitol. And then all of a sudden it's, oh, this is not what we're supposed to do. The next day, Lindsey Graham comes out and says, Trump, you lost your seat. Oh, now you think it's shit. Right. So I do think you're right. For the people who are on like Donald Trump's side, who are the fanatic fans, we can just hope, pray, and say, come on over when you guys are ready. We're here for you, right? Unless you're doing some wild shit, right? But for the leaders, something needs to happen to them. I don't know what can happen to them, but they're really what gave the juice to this happening.
Well, they definitely were part of the ingredients of it.
Yes.
But there are certain laws in place that if people assist in things like the insurrection and the coups, that they can be held accountable. Like it's in the Constitution. I'm not sure exactly where it is, but they could legally be held accountable and not be sworn in and lose their position. And I agree with you completely. But I will say, at least Lindsey Graham, not a fan of his at all. I wanted Jamie to win. I wanted Jamie to beat him out in South Carolina this year, but he didn't. But at least after whatever happened, the veil was lifted from their eyes, and they stood up for what was actually right and factual and what was unhealthy for our republic. So it's so hard to give credit to people who assisted in such horrible things that have happened to our country. But at least they did now. So whoever was like a big Lindsey fan, at least maybe it would take them a second to look back and think, yeah, this may not have been the right stance for me to take either.
Yeah. So I'll give my heart out to people who were supporting Lindsey Graham. I'm not for Lindsey Graham and like all of those people that I named. I really think that they do need to lose their seat, because I don't think that the veil was lifted. I feel like they knew the entire time. And the second they found out that, holy shit, these Trump supporters are serious about storming the Capitol, holy shit, they're willing to do some legit violence, I'm out of this. They jumped ship because they were like, I don't want to be a part of this sinking fire disaster. Like, I think they knew the entire time. I don't think this was a realization. They knew shit was hitting the fan, but they didn't know it was going to be that crazy. And once it did get that crazy, they were like, oh my goodness. So if you supported any of those senators, representatives, and you found out afterwards when they switched that, holy cow, that they've been lying the whole time, or maybe you thought that the veil was lifted, I'm okay letting you join. Please. The more the merrier. We need the people. But those leaders, I think that they were just looking for a power grab. But yes, moving forward. So now we have a new president. So all of that shit is, well, hopefully people, I really do like how it did take a long time for people to go get arrested. And I know that they are still doing, the FBI is still doing the, what's it called? They're searching for all the people that went to the Capitol, and they're going to try to arrest them and charge them, and full power of the law, please and thank you. You got to do that, because that's insane. But now we have a new president, and he's trying to do some crazy things, and we can try to jump back into some kind of nursing, but we got to talk about these vaccines. 100 million vaccines in his first 100 days. Jamie, first of all, have you gotten your vaccine? And second of all, it's a good thing.
I took the Pfizer vaccine. I took the first and second dose, completely finished like weeks ago. I was one of the first ones in my facility. I think I was number 6 in line. They
Hey.
got the first dose in December. Second dose was January 7th. I did have an immune response, and I documented it all on my First Do No Harm podcast page and Instagram, just in case they wanted to know that they, like it wasn't an adverse reaction and that they were going to die, right?
Yes.
So I woke up almost 12 hours later. I had chills. My fever would spike to about 102.5. I did not take Tylenol prior to the vaccine because I read that that's not a good idea because it does decrease the efficacy of your vaccine. I took it a little bit further and waited until I actually woke up with symptoms 12 hours later, but then it would go away and my symptoms would come back about an hour before I could take Tylenol again, and fevers would spike, whatever. Lasted 15 hours. So much better than having COVID-19. I mean, really. And it was so strange because I thought, man, I'm having fevers and chills. So I called out for the following day at work because I would think that normally when I get sick and I have such a high fever, I feel like crap the next day. I woke up the next day. I was great. I cleaned the house. I had so much energy. Yeah, I highly, highly recommend the vaccine, especially if you have the autoimmune response that is anticipated and expected with the vaccine. How about you? Have you had it?
Yeah, exactly just like you. I got my first dose December 22nd, right? And then I got my second dose 21 days after that, however the math adds up to being that. I also got the Pfizer. But I want to ask, did that immune response happen after your first or second dose?
Second.
Okay.
First response, 0.
Oh, good for you.
Zero effects.
I did have a sore arm, but like not any more sore than like the tetanus, or not any more sore than like, I don't know, a heavy flu year. Some flu years I get a sore arm, some flu years I don't. So I had 0, like nothing was different from me. Not a headache, not a fever, not a single thing outside of that sore arm. But so I'm guessing you are all aboard this 100 million vaccines in the first 5 days. Yeah, I think it's very necessary. I think it's a really good thing. I love that he's like, so yeah, the inauguration was great and everything, and the whole thing was fantastic. John Legend loved it. Yeah, I loved it all, right? And then the second it's over, Biden walks up to the office and he's signing away executive orders. I'm like, this is a precedent. This is a precedent. This is what you want to see. You guys, I know I had to get a lot of this off of my chest. I really wanted someone that I could really go back and forth with. Jamie's a perfect guest. But before we leave, you guys, I really want to talk to you about some hopeful news, some more hopeful news, some good things. I always do this when I do my nursing news. We talk about the nurse of the week. And we all know, but the COVID, all of that happened in 2020. It was the year of the nurse, right? And this story just really stood out to me. So I just want to I'm just going to give you a quick rundown, and we could just chat about how amazing nurses are for doing what we have been doing for the past year and moving forward, giving this vaccine. So this is from WSFA 12 News, and it's a story about the 3rd generation nurse vaccinates her mother. Let me give you the rundown here. Birmingham, Alabama, down south.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. A call to serve the community reaches 3 generations for a Birmingham family. Haley Fullman is an undergraduate student at the University of Alabama at Birmingham School of Nursing and a 3rd-generation nurse. Fullman's grandmother vaccinated people during the polio outbreak. Imagine that, during the polio outbreak, and would always be the nurse to vaccinate her own children when it was time for their annual shots. Fullman's mother went on to become a nurse anesthetist, doing big things, Miss Fullman. And in December, Fullman was able to vaccinate her mother with the COVID-19 vaccine. Fullman volunteered to help administer the vaccine when nursing students and faculty were asked to join frontline health workers in the fight against COVID-19. The year of a nurse is an understatement. The shit year that we went through, the craziness that we went through with this COVID-19 during 2020 was insane. And this is just a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. And it's stories like this. I mean, nursing ran through the family's blood. And the cherry on top of all of this, the last outbreak, her grandmother was vaccinating polio, folks. Polio is eradicated, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hope we could do the same with COVID. I mean, this is good news on top of good news. And it makes me so proud to be a nurse again. I'm so happy. Just any thoughts that you have on this amazing family of nurses, the Fullmans?
Oh my gosh, of course, I'm down for it. Like, what an incredible thing. And right. I mean, also, because I know the general population of people. So if you are not a healthcare provider, if you're looking at getting into nursing and you're tuning into Q and you're like, man, I'm really interested in this, we have all in the healthcare profession had hesitations about getting this vaccine. I have no question, right? And you and I have not talked about this, but I know there's been hesitation. And so we can navigate through, we can read, we can understand a lot of clinical trials and things like that. And we know how to access those resources. But can you imagine having a family member to talk about the polio vaccine when it was brand new and like the fears that the general population had, and to be able to compare the differences? And what a beautiful legacy for someone to be able to have. Like, I love it. I love it. The story makes my heart so happy. So happy.
All right. Before I let you go, I think, Jamie, you're so good at this. God damn it, you're so good at this. And that's such an important point. Because yes, I told you I jumped right in line because I was like, let's get this vaccinated. Let's start. Right. But in the beginning, the reason I'm a travel nurse at the hospital I'm at. The reason I was able to jump in front of so many people was because what you just said. So many nurses that work in healthcare, nurses that have been taking care of COVID patients 24/7 for the past 8 months, right? They were worried. The healthcare workers were worried. They were nervous. Okay. So that is super important that you mentioned that. And I do love the fact that we are seeing, like when Joe Biden went on TV to get his shot, when Obama went on TV to get his shot, when Dr. Fauci went on TV, because yes, it is. The vaccine came out really quickly. It was rushed because we needed it. They did do all the trials faster than they would have done for a regular vaccine because we needed it, because there's 400,000 dead Americans alone due to this COVID-19. So if you are worried, if you were nervous, if you do have questions, don't feel bad. We see it every day, and we had the same questions, if not more. But thank you, Jamie. God, every time, Jamie, every time. Thank you so much. Please, before you go, just I would love it if you would send me the link to your when you walk through your immunization videos or posts or podcast links, so I could put that in this video. But with that being said, please let the people at home know where they can find you. And thank you.
If any of you are interested, you can find me on any major platform. If you want to listen to the podcast, it is First Do No Harm. And if you're interested in, I don't know, Instagram, I'm not super great with social media, but I do have like an Instagram page for First Do No Harm. Same thing with Facebook page and Twitter. But the most activity that you're going to find is going to be on the podcast. So look me up.
Yes. And if you do, let them know. Go to her podcast, subscribe in the comments. Say, when are you going to have Q back on? Yeah. Get me in there, ladies and gentlemen. Get me in there. Jamie, it's always a goddamn pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm back in this, so don't be taking it back in a few weeks if I text you. Let's do it again, girl. Let's do it.
I'm ready. I'm down anytime. Just send me a message.
Thank you. Have a good night. Thank you so much, Jamie.
Q. Congratulations.